I'm back in Norwich, and just to get the ball rolling again, we're doing these live streams. I have actually got some videos up and coming. It's just taken a little bit longer than planned after the time I actually got here and then set up and all of that wonderful jazz as well. But I'm gonna, I think, talk about why I dislike the day game blueprint. Now, so many guys over the years have relied on the day game blueprint to get good at doing day game or just cold approaching in general. It's been an amazing thing, yes, for guys to find their footing, to actually be given a system that is going to help them to talk to people and at the very least just get them out of the house. But my God, it is, I think, the worst thing though for guys to then be relying on after they've been doing cold approaching for a long period of time. So yeah, again, in this video or in this live stream, I'm going to go over exactly why I hate the day game blueprint, or the London day game model, as it's also known, and also why you should consider avoiding it too if you want to get really good at cold approaching. So let's just start at the beginning. Let's start where all things start, and then this might help to justify my reasoning as to why I dislike it. And I think we'll go back to like about 2013, 2014, when the day game blueprint was introduced to the world of pickup. So it was incredibly revolutionary. Everyone absolutely loved it. It at least gave people a system to approach women because it was based on one of its co-founders at the time, a guy called Yad, and then you had Andy, who ran the company daygame.com. Two really good guys who, they were looking to certainly really kind of help as many people as they could. And so guys bought the program, they bought the training, and they were going out, they were practicing, they were going into all sorts of interactions, following this structure. You do this, then this, then this, and then you will eventually be able to get the results that you want by going on dates and getting phone numbers and stuff. But I think as time went on, people became very reliant on it. And so they fell into a trap on using it and relying on it and thinking that, as long as they just keep using this model, this is the only way that you're going to actually meet and get women. Now, at the time, I was working with a guy called Johnny Berber, and we were filming content that was more about kind of teaching people to be more natural and authentic and just develop their conversation skills with their interactions, rather than having this kind of like strategic play-by-play on how to have a conversation, which just isn't very natural at all. But it was really good because even then at the time, you had this we had this like little battle going on between like natural versus blueprint thing going on. So it was brilliant marketing. And if there's one thing that I do know from behind the scenes, at least with working with dating coaches, that maybe perhaps a lot of guys maybe don't really consider, or maybe they just don't know, but as much as on camera all the coaches kind of say how much they dislike these other coaches and this and that, behind the sines they're actually, they admire them, they respect them. It's a little bit like wrestling, actually. On camera everyone's like yeah, you're going down, like we're going to beat you in the ring and all this. And then off camera, they're probably like sitting and having like a breakfast together and saying like, I really like that move that you did in the ring. That was incredibly well done. Or maybe they probably don't speak so British, but yeah, that's certainly I think just how the dating industry works, at least behind the scenes, or at least from what I've kind of seen with it. But rolling on time, guys would then become more and more reliant on using the day game blueprint or the London day game model. And so everyone then was saying the exact same intros, the exact same assumption stacks, the exact same compliments, and asking for numbers in the same way. And certainly from filming a lot in London, there would be a lot of times that I would actually hear women say like, "Oh, someone's already said this to me already," or "I've already heard that," or guys were suddenly getting even more blowouts simply because the women had heard the same thing over and over. You know, there's only so many times people can go down Carnaby Street and just keep approaching the same women who are working in the shops, or if you keep walking around the same areas, at some point or another, you are going to just keep catching people on their daily routine to work or on their daily routine of just doing whatever chores and stuff. So, my problem though, this first problem that I've got with the day game blueprint is the fact that it is a crutch. That guys are reliant on it and they haven't learned how to interact with women outside of the day game blueprint. So I'll give you an example here. So you've got guys who use the day game blueprint and they'll say, "Excuse me, I literally just saw you. What I noticed about you was X, Y, and Z." And they use that over and over and over and over again. But if you, I've had times with guys when I've taken them out and I've said to them like, "Well, why did you say that? Why don't you actually say something that you genuinely are curious about with a woman, or something that you've actually noticed that's more specific to her rather than using some like canned material?" And you know, guys tend to just sort of, they like shrug and they go, "Well, this is all I know. You know, this is all I can do." But this is great and all for when you're a beginner, but when you've been doing this for a couple of years and you all you know is the London day game model or blueprint, and you are still saying, "Excuse me, can I tell you something really quickly?" It's just absolute nonsense. The only person who that was suitable for was the person who had actually created the program, and that was Yad. Everyone is copying literally what Yad is and his character that got put into this program, but yet people just still haven't thought to themselves like, "Do I have to say it like that? Do I have to do this and that?" And it's not just with the opener, it's just like, it's the same with the assumption stacks. Like the amount of times that I've heard the same thing with that, or when people go on dates and they'll say like the question game. That's another one that would constantly come up. So I had a friend of mine who was taught the London day game model, and the question game was part of something that he would have when he was going on dates with women. And I remember asking him, or I know, I remember him saying to me, he was like, "Daniel, you know what? I'm getting really bored of playing the question game on dates." And I was like saying to him, like, "Well, why are you actually doing the question game then? Why don't you have an actual conversation and flirt and get to know each other?" And I remember him saying to me, like, he was just like, "But if I don't play the question game, then I don't know how to build attraction," which is just ridiculous. So I guess with this point, with it being a crutch, is that when you are relying on the model, you're not actually understanding how attraction works. All you're doing is understanding how this model of attraction works, and as long as you do it, then you'll get results. But if you don't do it, like what most normal guys out in the world would do, because they're not reliant on a London day game model or the blueprint or whatever, then all you're going to do is you're going to just be trapped with just relying on that, and that's going to be your only way to meet women, just with by saying the same script, saying the same lines over and over, which then really kind of goes into the second thing, that it just doesn't, the day game blueprint doesn't really teach you personality. So when you are repeating your scripts over and over, you're not really expressing yourself. You're not saying what you mean or what you feel. It's like being given like a magic spell and just told like, "Okay, well, if you say this, then you're going to like instantly attract this woman that you're speaking to." And then you'll just get a guy who will say it like with the most monotone voice, and he'll just be like, Yeah, I literally just saw you and I thought you were really cute, so I wanted to say hi. And it just sounds boring. There's no flavor, there's no substance there. And so then they wonder why, like, that the girls just aren't interested. And it's because they're just not feeling anything. And they're simply not feeling anything because you're not feeling anything. Now, it's not to say that the model doesn't work. It absolutely does because it's been proven over the years that it does. But it's because you'll find someone who, talking to them on the street, talking to them in such a way of being so direct and bold, is going to be attractive to them. And I think one of my favorite quotes, at least from like the movie Hitch, is that no woman's going to complain about being swept off of her feet. Every woman, when they leave the house, are looking to be swept off their feet. So just by taking the initiative and just taking action, that is what is getting you the result. It's not necessarily you using the day game blueprint that's doing it. It's the fact that you are actively going and doing it. But if you was just saying something that you don't mean, then you aren't going to build a connection with someone, and it's going to be really boring and it's going to get very repetitive after a while. So imagine, what would be a good way really to explain this? Let me try and think about like demoing it. You've got then this guy who has gone over very monotone and he said, "Excuse me, can I just tell you something really quickly? What I noticed about you was your bright jacket and your red shoes." Very monotone. As opposed to someone who maybe at least puts a bit more of their personality into it and might say something like, "Excuse me, look, this is going to sound crazy, but I literally just saw you and I just thought you looked really cute." Now, the difference with them is just literally how I'm saying it. I've got more pauses, I've got more fluctuation with my voice as well. So at least the day game blueprint, I'm sure it's probably got like a better title, at least for the intro bit, but the intro or the opener at least sounds like I'm showing curiosity with someone. But what I much prefer though is for guys to not be reliant on that and just think for themselves. Like, look, if you just saw someone, what do you want to say to them? Give them a compliment. You can say, look, excuse me, this is going to just sound crazy, but I just had to stop you and say that you look good. I was curious if you were from this place because you kind of look like that you might be Spanish or whatever. Like that is a little bit more natural than just trying to think of something or having this like, okay, well, if you don't know what to say, let me write it down for you and then you can use it. You know, it's not going to develop your personality. And actually, really, that leads on to the last thing. That if you're just relying on lines and routines, excuse me, I got hiccups. If you are just relying on lines and routines, then you're not going to develop your creativity and your improv skills. So many times when I've gone out working with guys, not even just with coaching, but even just filming where they've hired me to film their in fields, I've seen it where when they're just using the lines and routines, and the girl hooks and she's like, "Oh wow, this is really interesting." They then get to this hiccup where they don't know what to say next because they haven't developed how to really think on the spot and how to think, oh, well, actually, what do I want to ask her that I find interesting? Or like, what really does spark my curiosity about her? What do I want to find out more to decide if I want to go on a date with her? When you're thinking too much about the outcome, like, oh, I want to, sleep with women, or oh, I want to get the phone numbers and go on dates, but you're not really thinking about building a connection with the women that you're speaking to, then again, it's no wonder why when guys are using, especially these days, the blueprint, and they start off doing the opener, and then they're like, I don't know what to say next. I'm just like generally stuck, and it's because you're not developing your creativity. If you start, and I find this for me personally, but I find that if I start off with some improv when I do my opener, so in other words, if I actually go over to someone being very genuinely curious about them And so I'm stopping them to find out and discover an answer to that curiosity. That I find helps me with then asking more questions or having a conversation or even being more playful and flirtatious in a conversation, rather than what happens if, because I've spent time around so many dating coaches and I've heard the same lines over and over, if I then go over and say them, I find I'm able to deliver the opener really easily, and then I'm just stopped, and then I'm like almost burnt out, like I just have this like massive brain fart and I just can't think like, well, what should I ask her next, what could I talk about? But again, going in with that creativity, or at least doing things that's just going to get that fluid intelligence moving, that is how then I tend to find that I can have a really, really good conversation with people. It's not because I'm then like relying on some like lines and routines that's going to tell me like, okay, well, when she says this, give this answer and that. It's like, no, well, where's my personality in this? Where is me expressing myself to her? And, you know, and if I'm someone who's looking for a relationship, I don't want to have a relationship built on lines and routines that have absolutely nothing to do with me and are not part of my personality. I want someone to be able to like me for me. So if I'm making my own jokes, if I'm throwing in my own humor or charm or questions and again, curiosity and topics of conversation, then that means then that I'm going to really be attracted to this person when I end up having that date with them, rather than walking away and going like, oh, brilliant, I got the number now. All right, well, let's just move on to the next girl and use the exact same lines again, and then I'll get a load of numbers to then try and filter them out and go on dates. It's just nonsense. Like, it's not. Yes, going out and approaching, there is an element of farming, but if you're doing it without actually building connections with women, then all you will find is that you will get worse results than you possibly could, as opposed to at least being courageous and just showing some slight bit of courage to go over to someone and say, look, you know what, I am nervous to come and talk to you, but I just thought you looked amazing and I just wanted to find out who you were. You will get so much more out of an experience like that than just saying, excuse me, can I tell you something really quickly, you know, and so on. So I really think like the day game blueprint is just dated at this point. There's been this element of Chinese whispers that has played out as each new generation of dating coaches has come forward and they've come to me to help them build their YouTube channels and businesses. And I'm just seeing the coaching, and it's not fair for me to certainly blame anyone, but I've just seen the coaching get weaker and weaker with the day game blueprint, that they are like they might as well literally just like have everything written on paper and just hand it to their client and just say, look, just say this will get you results, thank you for the money, and then that's that. And it's become, I just think like the coaching with it now is just really poor. Anyone who's teaching the London day game blueprint or model at that, it's just it's I don't think it's benefiting guys. And it's why then when certainly over like recent years, when guys then have gone to a coach who has taught that, they then walk away after the coaching. They've had what I would call the Tony Robbins experience, where they've got the high, they've got the rush, they have got results because, you know, they've been like pushed into the interactions. But when they walk away, they can't do it. They can't approach. They're not confident with speaking their own mind or saying the things that they want to say, because all they're reliant on is this script that they've been given from someone else. And that, for me, that is probably one of the things that really pisses me off, when guys are investing either like their life savings or investing in money in something that they find is like their weakness in all of their lifestyle, and they are trying their very hardest to get good at this, and then it just kind of falls flat because they haven't been taught how attraction works. So it's easy for me to really kind of like rant with this, but it's it's just so important that I think really guys, when they go out and they're practicing doing day game, just focus on the skill of cold approaching. Just get good at that first. There is no rush with trying to suddenly start getting like dates and stuff by the end of the week. Wherever you're at with your dating experience and even social experience, go at a pace that works for you and go at a pace that allows you to develop your confidence and your own way of communicating to people. Because when you look at all of the dating coaches that are out there, even the ones I would say that probably were teaching the day game blueprint, they're still not quite using the day game blueprint in their in fields or in their approaches that they're putting out. They sort of like have their own way of doing things, but when it comes to teaching, they'll pass on the day game blueprint. And actually, yeah, I think maybe there have actually been some that use the day game blueprint, and then they talk really weird as they're speaking to people. So they're not talking as though, if you're just talking to like a friend, or like if you're out in like a bar catching up with a mate or something. So they're not talking like how I'm talking now. They might talk as though they are speaking really slowly and really robotically, and to make sure that you can hear every word that I understand or say. And that's just weird. Like I remember there have been coaches in the past that I would film, and so they would talk normally to me, and then when they're talking to the girls, they would be like, "Excuse me, I literally just saw you, and I had to tell you that you look really nice." Like I kid you not, like I've heard like guys like that, and it's just so weird. It's so weird, and there's nothing I don't think authentic with that, and that is something that does separate guys who want to learn how to be natural with cold approaching, as opposed to guys who are trying to be pickup artists. And being a pickup artist certainly isn't a healthy route to be going down. I don't think it helps people in a sense of it just develops you. It develops you a way of thinking that makes you very strategic and more manipulative, rather than wanting to try and connect with people and be authentic and genuine. Um, and I just think it's dangerous in the long run. I mean, even then, the mental health that I've seen deteriorate with coaches, or even just guys over the years who've had like mental breakdowns or have gone a bit crazy, all because they've become addicted to using a model that kind of sells the idea that it's tried and tested and it works and you'll get results from it, but you'll just lose yourself in the process, and then you'll develop, I suppose, this alter ego of someone who has nothing to do with the person that you were. And we're not talking about, reaching like a self-actualized version of yourself. We're talking about you just have this like split personality and this character that is just unlikable and no one wants to connect with, and will consider or always considerably be a loner. And that is not what doing cold approaching is about. It is about being able to connect with people on a deeper level. And I like the idea of, especially when day game and pickup was first introduced. One of the reasons why it was a really cool thing and trendy thing for people to have a go at was because it was about helping the really geeky guys, or the guys who were unsociable, who wanted girlfriends and didn't know where to start and stuff. It was about helping them reach self-actualization and just becoming an amazing person. And that these days seems to have just been washed away with coaches teaching pickup and essentially kind of manipulating guys into just kind of paying for their lifestyle. And I've known coaches out there who are very much addicted to alcohol and drugs and stuff, and they are relying on serenading guys into working with them, so then at least it pays for their lifestyle. And rather than them, and they don't care then about the guys, they don't care about teaching you how to have a personality and be a better version of yourself. All they care about is just literally handing you a model, handing you literally a list of things to talk about and say, and then off you go, and you'll just get an amazing result from it. So I suppose just to reiterate why again I don't like the day game blueprint, which I have said probably about 1,000 times in this live stream. But first of all, again, it's a crutch. If you're just relying on it, then it's good maybe just for beginners, just as like a starting point. But if you're just relying on it constantly and you've been just relying on it for years upon years, then you're going to find that you don't actually understand how attraction works. You understand how a model of attraction works, but you don't understand that if you were to just be yourself or be a version of yourself that actually brings in your personality, then you're not going to understand how attraction works at all. You really, really not. And I've seen guys fail with that. And it's been funny that when I've worked with some guys, or if I've been filming with coaches and they've used the day game blueprint, and then I've said to them, and they've come back and they're like, "Oh, that really wasn't a great interaction, was it?" And that, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't great because you just fell back on lines and routines that didn't allow you to connect with the woman, and she felt that. You can see it. I can even feel it when I've got the headphones in and I'm listening to the interaction. You get a clear sense that she just wasn't connecting to someone who sounded like that they were just reading off of like a teleprompter. The second one is that it doesn't teach men how to bring in their personality. If you're just saying words and you're not feeling anything behind it, then you're not bringing in your personality. You're not bringing in that substance or flavor and showing her, that you are showing genuine interest. There was a phrase that I was going to say that I think it's gone out of my head now. That it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that is something that certainly does, I think, build attraction with women, that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And if you can say things in a way that shows just how humble and how desired you are to speak to someone, then that will open them up to wanting to have a conversation with you as well. And the last one is that that lines and routines, they don't develop your improv or creativity. So if you just keep relying on saying things over and over, you're not actually training your brain to work on what to say next. Like, oh, she said this, or how can I respond to that? Oh, what would be a quirky response to this, or how can I be flirtatious with that? Again, if you're just saying certain things because you were told to say it, and you're waiting on the girl to say that so you can give your response to it, it's essentially a sales technique. It's subjective handling. If you've got something like pre-ready to say for a certain scenario to play out, but then if it doesn't play out, and then you're like, shit, what do I say? Because I was hoping she was going to give me this response, but now I don't know what to say because I haven't got something prepared for this and that. The model goes out the window because it doesn't cover all of the bases. So, guys, if you are going to be going out and doing cold approaching, please do not rely on the day game model. I don't mind, or I'll give you the benefit of the doubt if you've discovered it because you're brand new to the industry, you're brand new to going out and practicing cold approaching, you're incredibly nervous to speak your mind to someone that you've just met, then sure, you want to have something that has been tried and tested, go for it. But don't rely on it forever. Do it a couple of times until you suddenly get into flow state, and then be confident. And in fact, no, be courageous. Trust yourself that if you were to go over to someone and even just say, "Hi, I wanted to meet you," or "Hi, you looked interesting, I wanted to say hi," or like, "Excuse me, I just really loved your style and I thought you were cute. I just wanted to, put myself out there and say hello to you." You do any of them, you'll get just as good results, if not better, than the day game blueprint. Now, if you are struggling to do it on your own, I also offer my coaching services that I can take you out on the street and we can do cold approaching together. So I've now tweaked my offers a little bit. So hopefully that should make it even easier for guys to either try and do a taster with me and see what it's like to approach, or even just my style of coaching with people, because I would say it is very different to everyone else. But considering I've been in the dating industry for 16 years, which is a very long time, I got into it in 2009, believe it or not. I've been there throughout the entire development journey and cycles and booms and recessions of dating coaches coming and going through the industry as well. I've built all of their channels and businesses, or certainly the majority of the ones who have passed through London. And I've even helped them to develop their confidence with approaching, as well as just them making content of them approaching as well. And I like the idea, and I've always liked the idea of really bringing out people's personality and letting them connect with people by really showing how genuine and authentic that they can be. I don't really like lines and routines. You can ask any client that I've worked with, whether it be mine personally or even some of Christian who's been passed over to me. I really like the idea of developing people and bringing out their personality, bringing out their confidence and their style that suits them personally. I don't want you copying what a coach is doing. That doesn't develop anything. All that means is that you're a good listener and you're good then at copying what someone else can do. And there's no point plagiarizing this. I want you to be a version of you. I want you to be finding the kind of women that like your confidence, like your charisma and your personality as well. So if you're interested in my coaching, I offer 3 different services. So again, I've made it nice and clear now for people, because I had a lot of inquiries come through and people weren't sure about the 12-week commitment. So I have now simplified it. I love the fact that guys are interested, and I have been able to work with people, but now I've simplified it and made it even easier for working with people. So you've now got a taster session if you want to do that with me, which is a 4-hour session in a day. I also offer my filming and feedback session, which if you haven't watched Bill's transformation series on my channel, gotta check it out. It was absolutely fantastic. I've had a lot of really good feedback from it as well. And you could have the exact same experience as Bill, which obviously isn't going to be for YouTube. But I do also offer a service for YouTube, which is free for those who are interested in that. So do let me know if you want to do it more on the cheap. If you don't want to have, if you don't want to pay for the service and, you know, and get the coaching privately. And then lastly, I do a 1-week training as well, where I will go out with you every single day and we will do approaching together, or I will be coaching you with approaching and getting you to develop a much simplified version than what the day game blueprint was trying to teach, and one that I can assure you will get really good results fast. You only have to look at my filming, well, not my filming and feedback session, but you only have to look at the coaching reviews that I did every day for a week with Christian on his channel. In fact, I do need to ask him if I can get a copy of them and put them on my channel as well. But you only have to hear how I took these beginners, guys who've never done cold approaching before in their lives, how I then took them from doing nothing to, by the end of the week, they were going on instant dates, getting phone numbers, as well as they've even had dates with some of those girls that I did take them and encourage them to go and speak to. So you can get results really, really fast. Maybe not even just with me and definitely with other coaches, but with me, I want to bring out a better version of you. One that isn't pickup related, one that isn't necessarily day game related or day game blueprint or London day game model related, all these bloody titles. I want to bring out a version of you that you are going to be happy with, and that you can bring that confidence into all areas of your life. And I will do other live streams about this idea that Even learning cold approach doesn't even have to just be about dating. You can use it certainly as a lubricant to be more confident and to just develop your confidence in life and to connect with people and socialize and so on. So we'll leave it there. I absolutely check out my website if you are interested in my coaching, but there's plenty of videos on my channel to help you with your social anxiety and your approach anxiety as well. But other than that, I've been Dan, that dating anxiety guy, and certainly look forward to more content coming from me in the near future.